Welcome to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Koster with John Kremer.
I like the way you say that.
But I like what you do with what you're talking about with the whole idea of that the thought is there, but you just allow it to be. And you allow not just that thought, but the whole totality of what arises.
Yeah, and and also, so this just came up for me while you were speaking. Is that when thoughts arise, or to say the simple, when thoughts come up, we always have some kind of an intervention going on. Like either we shy away from them, or there's a resistance, or we have an interaction, and that actually shapes the experience of the thought, but also how it then starts to escalate. And so, truly allowing and letting be for whatever is arising, then then it is exactly as it is. And what I found is that then at some point, that escalating nature of the thinking gets arrested. It just stops. So it is my attention that keeps it going. And attention can have different forms. Like there's a feeling of, well, I don't like this, or there's an interaction of some sort that then starts to shape then as well your experience of life.
It a lot of what happens in that interaction is where you get sort of stuck,
Exactly.
you know, and that again was, you talk about that in your talking diary sometimes, and you've talked about things that are sort of like that, and then you know, you then sort of just let go. You allow for the totality of what arises, um, and that gets rid of the stickiness.
Yes. And then at some point, it's like the mind runs out of its course. It has got nothing uh, to chew on. And when that's happening, then there is what we call, there's a peace of mind. Well, actually, there is a sense of peace because there is no longer that engagement with the mind, and we are freed up. The attention that we are is freed up, and what then arises, or then inside of that, what arises is the awareness of being, and that is uh, then immediately recognized as your true reality, or as one's true reality. That is what is real, not the
Right.
thinking.
We don't want any of that thinking.
Well, it is interesting, but we take it too seriously, so to speak.
Yes, but it's part. I know you talked about it in some part of your diary that if you fight it, and in fact, in the diary on June 1st, you talked about the demons you were fighting. Literally, the demons you were fighting were the thoughts that you were having,
Yes,
and by fighting it, you sort of stick with it, and the thought takes over, and that's all there is. Um,
yes,
and part of what you said is that you were saying that true liberation was to be found when you found that the demon never existed.
exactly. So what we often call demons, or uh, to speak from my own experience, when I was a young person, I had a stammer. And that was not so much the problem, but the problem was how people were talking about it.
Yeah,
And that gave me an experience of self that I identified with. And that then started to have its own dynamic in social interaction, what I was avoiding, with whom I would hang out with, what I would do or what I would not do. So that limited the sense of the possible, what I saw was possible in the expression of my life. Now, what I can say now is that at that time I did not have the capacity, or I was not equipped with the insight that this experience of self that the mind creates and that is located inside of duality, that is not real. That sense of self, or the personal self, as you might call it, doesn't exist. It is an illusion. It is an appearance that we take for reality. It's just an idea. But where the problem arises is that when you get into it and you start to converse from that experience, and then you build a story, then that becomes your reality. And so it's all made up, basically. It's not real. And so you could say that the personal self that we tend to construct in our narrative, that's not real. It's an illusion. And there is merit in realizing that, because if there is not the awareness that that is in fact just an idea, it is not reality, then that is what determines our actions. It determines our choices, and it shapes the experience that we have both of ourselves and life. And it is not necessary. And that is what I see is the possibility of this conversation.
Thank you for listening to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Koster. For more information, check out louiskoster.com/Talking Diaries and subscribe to the Talking Diaries YouTube channel. Also, check out louiskoster.com/quiz and take the free quiz to discover more about yourself.